In this lesson, we are going to learn most common modeling tools in Blender, which you can use to make almost any 3D model. In the last 3 lessons, we learned, got to know Blender. We learned how to navigate, how to go around the scene, and we also talked about objects and some very common tools in object mode. And today, we will learn, maybe today, maybe it is the same day, it doesn't matter. We are going to learn very common modeling tools. I would say these will be the most common modeling tools. And trust me, they are not very difficult to get used to. Now I'm inside Blender and I have deleted the light and the camera. And if you accidentally delete this, you can add it back with Shift and A. This is Add menu, and you can add any mesh like a cube, because meshes are our raw materials. Let's add this cube back. In this lesson, we will learn the most important tools in Blender to help us make something. In the previous video, we talked about these tools. If you didn't watch, please watch it. So let's go to here, come here to drop down menu. For this to be visible, to see the different modes, you need to select this object. Let's come here, and this edit mode is where we model our things. So let's go out of object mode and come into edit mode again, so that you see the difference in the interface, the tools, and also this object itself. Now we can select by drawing, we can select. Actually, there is a shortcut like other operations in Blender. We have a very handy, nice shortcut, which is the tab menu. We use it so often, it will just be second nature for you, just to press tab again and again to go into object mode, to go into edit mode and go to object mode. And the second thing that we need to know here before we actually use any tools, we need to understand what this model is made of. This model is a model, actually, a box. It is not a very complex or very nice model, but it's still a model, 3D model. And what this model is made of? This model is made of 3 elements. The dots, the points, I would say. In Blender, they're called vertices, and I believe in many other programs it's called vertices. One is vertex, a few of them are vertices in plural. Vertex and vertices. You can select vertices by default. And we have edges, 2 vertices connected by an edge. This line between these 2 vertices is an edge. And between 3 or more vertices, there is a face. So we have 3 elements: vertex, edge, and face. If you want to learn more about that, I have a very comprehensive video about how to model anything in Blender, what 3D models are made of. So you can watch that video if you follow the link on the top right corner. And another thing, by default, I can select these vertices, right? I can select these vertices, but I can also select these edges, not the vertices, but edges. And if you select an edge, it will automatically select 2 vertices too. And to change it, you come here. These are nice symbols for vertex, edge, and face. Let's change it to edge, and now you can select edges. You can change it to face, and you can select faces. And there is a shortcut for these 2. It is 1, 2, 3, but these numbers are on the number row above the letters on your keyboard. You just hit the numbers 1, 2, 3 above the letters. And the third thing that you need to learn before we actually use any tools is selection. Shift selecting also works here. You can hold down Shift to select multiple elements. If you are in edge selection, you can select these things. And sometimes we use box selecting, just click and drag to select in box form. Also, you can Alt select, but we will learn it. You can hold down Alt to select a loop. We will learn that a bit later. So Shift and Alt is very, very commonly used. So this is another shortcut. Now we have learned how to select stuff. Let's quickly talk about deleting stuff. Let's delete some elements. For example, let's delete this edge. X, delete edges. If I delete this edge, the faces connected to this edge also get deleted, because without this edge, this face cannot exist. So let's Ctrl Z. Let's try deleting one vertex, X, and delete this vertex, or you can press delete key or X key. This is another shortcut, I believe. This is the first time I mentioned X, but you can use delete. It doesn't matter. Let's delete vertex. If you delete one vertex, 3 faces will get deleted too, because those faces cannot exist without this vertex. And you can also delete faces. If you select 2 vertices, if you try to delete a face, nothing gets deleted because you haven't selected any face. To delete faces, you need to select faces. X, delete this face. And I deleted this face, as you can see now, Ctrl Z. So now we learned how to delete faces, how to select them, how to delete them, delete not faces, but vertices, edges, and faces. Now we can start talking about the tools. The first 3 tools are the tools that we have already learned in the previous video. You can select something and press G to move, which is very nice. You can select anything, any element, and press R, although this doesn't work with n vertex because it's just one point. There is no point in rotating a point, right? So if it is 2, you can rotate them. And scale, S. Those 3 tools are universal and they work in many places in Blender. Now finally, we will start to learn about different modeling tools. So the first tool here is extrusion. If I click this and drag this plus, I extrude. Remember, I selected the face and I can extrude more faces. You extrude one face, vertex, or edge. Remember, I selected the face, but I can select a vertex and extrude this vertex, as you can see. And I created edge too, this edge. I can extrude an edge and create a face, just like that. Or like we have seen before, shift select for vertices, and we selected this face as a result, and we can extrude these faces. So as you can see, we can extrude vertices, edges, and faces. Not only faces, but extruding faces is more common. So we have learned the most important tool. In Blender, we hardly ever use these tools. I mean, we use them all the time, but we hardly ever click on them and activate and use these gizmos or whatever. We only use shortcuts. So the shortcut for extrusion in Blender is just E. Press E and you can extrude. By default, it extrudes along its normal. Also, you can extrude along an axis. For example, you can press E and you can press S to extrude it along X-axis, but this doesn't make sense in this situation. So E is for extrusion. If you press Alt-E, you will see other extrusion options. Just like holding down left click here, you can see other options. You can press Alt-E to see more options. So the only thing that you need to remember is the letter E for extrusion. It works with all other elements. You can press E and you can extrude anywhere. You can press E and extrude. In this situation, for example, when you're extruding an edge, it is free extrusion, so you need to constrain this extrusion along a direction. For example, you can press X and this extrusion is constrained along X-axis. So let's get rid of that. Now the second tool that I want to show you is cutting edges. So you can cut edges, actually it is here, LoopCut. You can create a LoopCut like by pressing only once, and by pressing only once, as you can see, you can create more cuts just like that. But as I said, I hate using these tools. Like I hate activating them. I can just use shortcuts. So LoopCut, Ctrl R. If you press Ctrl R and if you hover over any edge, remember you need to hover over an edge to cut a loop along that edge, actually crossing that edge. And there are 3 steps here. So the first is Ctrl R and hovering. second is pressing left key, and third is pressing the left key again. Press Ctrl R, left click, Ctrl R, hover over any edge, left click. And there is you can have more steps here. For example, Ctrl R, hover over an edge and turn the scroll wheel on your mouse to cut more loops, and press left click and left click. Now you have put this in the desired place. Or you can increase the steps to 5 actually by doing this. Look, Ctrl R, hover over an edge, it's the first step. Spin the scroll wheel, turn the scroll wheel, this is the second step. Press left click, this is the third step, and move the cursor up and down to move all of these edges along these other edges. And left click again as a fifth step. So as you can see, there can be 5 steps, as many as 5 steps. Ctrl R, turn the scroll wheel, left click, move it a little if you want, it's just only if you want, and left click again, confirm this operation. Now let's talk about the next tool, which is Bevel tool or beveling. Beveling is flattening any edge or creating more edges from one edge. So let me show you. You use beveling for these two reasons. You can bevel an edge or flatten an edge, or you can duplicate an edge. So let's go to edge select mode, select any edge, and beveling is here, this little thing, it is beveling, but I don't like it. Just like other tools from here, I don't like to activate. I like this tool, but I don't use it. I always use the shortcut, which is Ctrl B, and move the cursor. And just like LoopCut tool, you can turn the scroll wheel for more cuts. It's very nice tool. Now I will show you one good selection tool. Select the first edge and select the last edge by holding down while holding down Control, and Blender will select everything in between. And if you want to select it in a different way, you can hold down Alt and select this, and Blender will select all the loop, and you can shift select these two edges to deselect them. So remember, Alt selecting all the loops, and you can deselect by holding down Shift and deselecting any edge. So it's a nice thing. So by now we have learned more selection tools too, like selecting one thing and Shift selecting, Control selecting, Alt selecting. So you can hold down Shift to select multiple things. You can hold down Alt to select a loop. You can hold down Control to select the first selection and the last selection, and Blender will select everything in between. Let me introduce a new concept in Blender. Whatever you do in Blender, just like that, has a little trace. Blender will give you one last chance to change what you have just done. And it's called Adjust Last Operation menu or panel. I would say it's a panel, and it's here. If you open this, you can adjust what you have just done, just like that. But this is the last chance. If you click anywhere else, you will lose that last chance and it will never come back again. Other ways to do this effect, and you'll always have a chance to change it afterwards, and these are called modifiers. There is actually a bevel modifier which has the same effect, but it is non-destructive. It's called non-destructive, and it will always give you a chance to change whatever you have done. Being able to change what you have done is called non-destructive workflow, which means you don't destroy anything. But this bevel tool is destructive if you don't use the last chance like that, and you will never bring it back. The only option is Ctrl Z, but if you do a lot of things Ctrl Z, you will run out of Ctrl Z options, and just maybe you need to do everything from scratch. So let me show you. There are a few options in the bevel tool. First of all, these width and these segments. So you can have more segments, and if you have more segments, you can change this profile, this nice rounded profile. You can change it from here, profile type. You can just change it to custom, and you have some presets here, like for example steps, Or let's go to, I don't know, maybe something like this. If you're an architect, you can have more, and you can just change a few other things here because it's custom curve, as you can see here. More loops. I would say it's nice. And let's Ctrl Z this. But Blender will remember that last option, so if you press Ctrl B again, it will automatically have this. So let's go back to Super Ellipse, just one for the segments. So yeah, Ctrl Z, press Ctrl B. And there is one last thing in the bevel tool, which is beveling the vertices. You can also bevel these vertices. If I bevel this edge and come to adjust last operation, I can change it to vertex. And I can increase the steps here, segments here, make it smaller or larger. And this is also a nice effect which can help you to make diamonds. There are lots and lots of other things that you can do in bevel tool, and you have this bevel modifier too. If you want to learn all of these much better, I have a full Blender course where I explain all of these things and all of this, almost all these modifiers. These are amazing and these are non-destructive. Yeah, you can get that course with the link below this video. So now let's go to the next tool, which is also one of the most important tools, and it is Inset Faces. Its name is Inset Faces, so you need to select faces to create insets or inner faces. So select a face, come to Inset Faces, this is it, and you can just hold or drag from the middle of the circle, which is not ideal, but yeah. I told you I don't like this workflow, activating these and using these. I don't like it. I just use, and everyone uses, shortcuts. So for Inset Faces, it's I. Press I and move the cursor. You don't have to hold down I, remember, just press I once and move the cursor or move the mouse. And you can see some information up here. While insetting, you can do some other stuff. For example, you can press I and I again to inset multiple faces. And this is most important and most commonly used. Let's select two faces, for example, and press I. Now I'm insetting kind of common face, but if I pressed I, if I press I again, now I'm insetting separate faces. This can be interesting and useful. So I, and this also has adjust last operation panel. You can adjust a few things. You can use some other things like that. Ctrl Z. While you're learning these tools, you will notice that all of these tools allow you to change the things that you have done one last time. For example, extrusion, you extrude and you have adjust last operation panel here. You can move the extrusion to different directions. You can choose what orientation to use while extruding, or Ctrl R. We have just learned, and it also gives you one last chance to change a few things, just interesting things. You can play around with them. If we scale things, we have adjust last operation panel. So adjust last operation panel, I hope you have learned about this and you might use it in the future. But remember, adjust last operation will give you the one last chance. If you lose that chance, you will never have it back. And the last tool, the next tool, I think it's not the last tool, but it's the next tool in this video, which is moving edges or vertices along other edges. So it's pressing G twice. So let's cut a loop cut here. Loop here, for example, left click, I left this loop, and I can select this loop by holding down what? I hope you remember, you can hold down Alt and select one edge and you will select all the loops. Did you notice, have you noticed what I have just done? I press Shift Z to go to wireframe view. It's a little secret for you, it's a little bonus for you. You can Shift Z, hold down Shift and Z, press them together to go to wireframe view. And you have noticed something here too. This has also changed. Shift Z, Shift Z. It's a second nature to me, so I accidentally pressed Shift Z just to see the other side of the cube, just to make sure that I selected the whole loop. Shift Z, yeah, I have selected the whole loop, and Shift Z again to go back. I didn't want to show this to you now, but I have showed you accidentally, and so please remember it. Shift Z to go wireframe, Shift Z to go back to solid view. And I wanted to show you GG. It has a good name, GG. You press G and you can move this edge wherever you want, like this crazy movements, or you can press G again to slide an edge. Slide the edge along other edges. And you can do this with vertices too. So press select a vertex, press G, you can move it anywhere you want. If you press G again, you can move it along other edges. And this is very useful in many situations. And the next tool that I would like to show you is this. It is called Fill tool, and it's not here, but it is so often used that you can't model too many things without filling holes, or yeah, it's very important. Let's delete this face, for example. And how do you think I can fill it back? Of course, I can press Ctrl Z, but what if I do so many other things after I have deleted this face? How can I go back? If I press Ctrl Z 100 times, I will undo all of the things that I have done, I do later, right? Filling is so common in modeling. So filling is an F. How do you fill with an F? Well, you select all the edges and you can press F and you fill it. So now let me show you something else. Let's press Ctrl R and cut an edge loop here. And now I want to fill only the bottom part. Well, I can select the bottom part and I can press F to fill it. If I want to fill everything, I can press F to fill everything, but this is not a good thing because there is one non-continuous, I don't know how to call it, not continuous loop. And you should avoid this, or you should avoid faces which has more than 4 sides. This face now has more than 4 sides, so it's a universal rule. Actually, it doesn't matter to the computer, but it matters to you. While modeling, it can make things difficult if you have faces which has more than 4 sides. So all of your faces, not your faces, your model's faces, all faces should be quads. It's better to have quads. You're not going to your computer doesn't complain about it, or it doesn't break. It's simply not ideal to work with faces which has more than 4 sides. So let's delete this face, and I hope you know how to complete these, fill these. F, you can select all others, or you can select these, press F. Of course, there are other ways to fill a hole like this, a bit faster ways, but it takes about more explanation. Let me show you this. You can select this edge only and press F, F again to fill these 2 holes. But it doesn't work in all situations. For example, if you select this edge and press F, it doesn't fill it in a good way. So you should know what to select first. Now let's look at how we can delete edges without deleting faces. So let's select this with holding down Alt. You can select these and press delete and delete these edges. If you delete these edges, you delete these faces too. How do you keep the faces but delete the edges? Only the inner edges, like not outer edges, just like these, inner edges like these. Press X or delete and dissolve edges. Select these edges, press delete and dissolve edges. So these are nice operations. Now I'd like to show you the last thing in this video. Of course, there are so many other tools which are also important, but not as important as the tools that I have shown in this video. If we use any other tool during in this course, while modeling something, I will try to explain it a bit more in detail. So the last tool I would like to show you is called subdividing. You can select everything, or you can select any face, usually a face. We subdivide faces, but you can subdivide edges and vertices too. But let's select everything, or one face, or let's select everything first. And right click, and you can subdivide. This is the first option here. You can subdivide. And right click again, subdivide again. As you can see, I'm subdividing and making more and more polygons here. You can subdivide once and adjust last. With adjust last operation, you can change the cuts or subdivisions. You can have 10 levels of subdivisions here. Of course, you have a subdivision surface modifier here, which is non-destructive, but in many situations, this manual subdivision is very handy. So select everything, press X and limited dissolve to get rid of all of these things, which is a nice bonus for you. So again, if you want to learn all of these tools and all the ways to select stuff, to delete stuff, if you want to learn all of them, you can just go ahead and get my paid course. It's not very expensive. I think for a few bucks you can get it on Udemy, and the link will be in the description below this video. So I hope you have learned some things or many things in this video. And if you like this video, please like it. If you like it, please like it. So thanks again. See you in the next video.